When we go out to eat, we never agree on where to go.
I want burgers.
Pizza.
Tacos it is.
The one thing we do agree on is we all want unlimited high-speed data. That's why we switched to Metro PCS.
Stop by Metro PCS with the whole family and get 4 lines with unlimited LTE data for just $100, period. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out.
Coverage not available in some areas. Offers require port and of number not currently active on T-Mobile network. During congestion, the fraction of customers using more than 35 gigs per month may notice reduced speeds. Video streams at up to 40p. No tethering. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to Nonprofit U, a forum where nonprofit stakeholders can share lessons learned and discuss the latest developments in the industry. My name is Valerie, Leonard, your host. I'm a consultant to nonprofits, and I specialize in community and organizational development. I work with nonprofit organizations to help them make a stronger impact to their clients and communities. You can find Nonprofit U on Facebook and Twitter, and I encourage you to comment early and often using the hashtags NonprofitU, Veteran Strike Force, or Life After Military Service. You can also leave comments on blogtalkradio.com/nonprofit_U. The chat room is open, and you can post comments and questions. In order to use the chat room, you must open a listener-only account. You can find a link to open the account on the episode page, and you can also email me questions at consulting@valeriefleonard.com or send messages through Facebook and Twitter. You'll find a Nonprofit U fan page on Facebook, and the Twitter account is @ProfitU. We'll be taking questions by phone and from our chat room at about the 30-minute mark. The call-in number is 347-884-8121. Again, that number is 347-884-8121. Today's episode is Life After Military Service, Issues and Resources for Veterans and Their Families. We'll talk about the most common issues impacting veterans and their families, the Veteran Strike Force, and available resources. Again, we encourage you to call in with questions and participate in live chats at about the 30-minute mark. And if you're in our chat room, you don't have to wait 30 minutes to post. You can start posting now. The call-in number is 347-884-8121. We really would love it if veterans and nonprofit professionals who deal with veterans, if they can call in and share your stories and ask questions. And you don't have to be a veteran and you don't have to work with veterans, but, we would really, really love to hear from those particular segments. If by any chance you are an elected official, we would especially love to hear from you. Our guest for today is Dumont Moore, founder of the Veteran Strike Force here in Chicago, and we'll let Dumont come to you in his own way in just a minute. So, Dumont, thank you so much for being a guest today, and it's indeed an honor to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to work with the Veteran Strike Force?
Yes, Val. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be on your talk radio show. And in 1999, I participated in a veteran stress group at the Jesse Brown VA Hospital. Mm-hmm. In this group, we had a number of vets who were waiting for benefits, and we had been waiting for maybe 2 to 3 to 5 years to 10 years for benefits. Mm-hmm. Well, our therapist told us that she was sick and tired of us talking about benefits all the time. And she said, if you really want to make a change in the system, what you're going to have to do is, and I recommend you do it, is start your own veteran service organization. And hence we became Veteran Strike Force in 1999, chartered Illinois State Charter in year 2000.
Awesome. Now, what about you? Can you give us a little background on yourself?
I'm a Vietnam vet. I'm a Vietnam combat disabled vet. I'm also a patient at Jesse Brown VA at Jesse Brown VA Hospital, I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm 100% disabled, and I've been in treatment for the last 26 years.
Wow.
I'm also a co-founder and past commander of Veteran Strike Force, and we're located at Jesse Brown VA Hospital. We have an office there, and we also have an information table in the atrium of the Jesse Brown VA Hospital across from the pharmacy. We could be reached every day from 9 to 12 to answer questions and give information to veterans in need of services.
Awesome. And before we go any further, I just want to say thank you so much for your service. And your service, you know, not only have you put yourself in harm's way for our country, but you have also in many ways politically, and anybody who lives in a 24th ward knows maybe sometimes physically you have put yourself in harm's way, you know, doing community service for a number of elected officials, you know, just to make sure that we can enjoy a better quality of life. And I just wanted to say thank you so much before we go on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now, can you give us a brief overview of some of the issues that are facing veterans after they return from service? And, you know, we're just going to do a summary now, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail, you know, once we get into the nitty-gritty of our conversation.
Well, Val, in my opinion, the main issue is mental health. That's one of the main issues. But as you know, veterans being soldiers and being the strongest among us, we sometimes neglect going to get and seek help for ourselves. And many veterans don't know that the VA hospital actually exists, and they exist for the purpose of serving veterans. Many vets fear going to the VA hospital. Mental health being the number one issue, then you have to narrow it down a little further to substance abuse, self-medicating. You have to narrow it down to joblessness, homelessness. And when you go there, it opens the door to a whole lot of other issues that would take up probably most of this hour.
Wow.
But if you want me to be specific about certain issues, I'll comment on those as well.
Oh, okay. All right, good. There's we do have a lot to talk about, and then, you know, we could get more specific later on. So,
okay, sounds good.
With that said, can you tell us about some of the work that you guys are doing with the Veteran Strike Force?
Well, we open up the table, which is the information table, at 8 o'clock every morning from Monday through Friday. And on that table, we have information that would be good for veterans seeking a job, needing an attorney, different programs that are available, stand down times and dates, issues mostly that confront veterans that you wouldn't normally find on the street or in the newspaper. We offer this information free of charge, and our services are free of charge. We're part of Jesse Brown's Volunteer Services Program, and like I said, we're there from 8 to 12 every day for the last 18 years.
It's amazing how time flies. 18 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So one would think that given that veterans have served our country and that they have to register with the United States government, you know, through the armed forces, that they'll be very, very easy to track and reach, you know, once they come out. But from what I read, that's not necessarily true. What's been your experience? Is that true, or is it false? I mean, can they be easily reached?
It's true. It's hard to reach veterans. It's hard to reach veterans because they have some type of mandate where the VA can't advertise services that they provide for veterans. So veterans, for the most part, don't really know that those services or even that the VA exists. A lot of veterans, when they have to get it word of mouth, from another vet, or they have to come to the Jesse Brown VA Hospital and register at the admissions desk so that they can access some of the benefits and services that is available to them. Now, adjacent to the VA hospital, you have the VA regional office where you can access benefits. But then again, the Department of Veterans Affairs don't advertise entitlements or services that they provide for veterans through the public.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't know why that is. I've made public service announcements. We've had campaigns to reach out to veterans, especially the homeless vets. We even attempted to start a homeless shelter at Lindale Missionary Baptist Church on the west side of Chicago at Independence and Roosevelt, which is 1227 South Independence Boulevard. And so far, it's a work in progress, and we're still working at it. So. It's mostly word of mouth. A lot of veterans really don't want to show up at a VA hospital because we believe, for the most part, that we would appear helpless, or we would appear hopeless, or we would appear as though we had a mental health issue, and nobody wants to be labeled as, oh, he's crazy, So.
Right.
I was lucky, I was told that my behavior dictated a symptom, an illness, a disease called PTSD. And I was lucky because a veteran friend of mine told me that he was seeking treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder, and I should probably do the same thing. Substance abuse, divorce, job after job after job, and I didn't know the VA even exists or that they could help me. So our main issue, our main goal, our mission is to get the word out to all the vets that the VA does exist, and they exist there primarily to help us, and they should use the VA before they cut the lights off.
Okay. So I just want to do a follow-up. When you were first discharged from the military, was there any procedure that you had to go through that will orient you and tell you, where to go for veteran services, or you were basically just discharged and put out, on your own to fend for yourself?
For the most part, we were on our own. We didn't know the fundamentals of the Department of Veterans Affairs. And, I also have a thing called, I was diagnosed with Agent Orange. And when I did go to the VA hospital to seek treatment, I was examined, and the clinician, the doctor, was looking at my stomach, and he seen the rash and everything from Agent Orange, and I told him it was seasonal, and he said, "Well, there's nothing wrong with you. All you have to do is when you leave out of here, go get you some Dial soap." So that turned me off. He was signaling that I wasn't clean. So that turned me off for about 10 years, and I neglected even going back until I talked to some more vets in my community, and I went back. I went back to seek treatment because when I came home, my mom said, "Hey, you're not the same person that I sent to Vietnam. You're not the same person that I sent to the military. You're somebody different, you know." And she says that while she loved me, I wasn't the same person that she sent over there. I wasn't the same person that came back. So I had to go and seek treatment.
Did she say how you were different? And if she did say, is it something you care to share?
Well, again, that's a long story. I felt as though I didn't fit in. I had went through college, manhood. I had went through combat. I had done a lot of things that young men my age, couldn't even think about, all within a year's time of serving in Vietnam. So, you know, I mean, I still got wounds on my body from that ordeal. Yeah, so I still suffer from it.
Okay, and again, we can't thank you enough for your service and your sacrifices, obviously. So getting back to the original question of people being hard to find and hard to locate, you know, one thing, you know, and I would hope that things are a little bit different now for vets that are currently coming out, that there may be better systems in place for them to get connected to services.
No,
is that?
No, it's not. No, there's nothing in place. What I'm attempting to do is start a public service announcement campaign in an attempt to reach out to veterans all over the country. And it's been difficult for me to do this, and it's so simple to do. And I don't know why there's a law against the Department of Veterans Affairs to advertise services that they provide so veterans could know. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue pushing forward with this campaign as often as I can, and as resources begin to come in, I'll be more effective in doing this.
Okay. Now, have you talked to any of your elected officials on the federal level, your congressmen, your senators, and let them know that, you know, this is an issue? You know, it makes no sense for it to be a law that says that the VA can't advertise their services.
Well, again, they probably don't know, but for the last 10 years that I could think of, Veteran Strike Force has been a member of a Veterans Congressional Task Force in the 7th District. I believe that's Danny Davis. Pardon me. And I'm sure he's aware of those issues, but there's so many issues that are on the table and so complex that it's hard to kind of narrow any of them down. So we're just biding our time. You know, I feel that when the right time comes, all this will be brought to the light, and veterans will be able to gain access to a lot of the services and benefits that they have truly earned and deserve.
Yes. Okay, I want to remind our listening audience that you're listening to Nonprofit U, and we're speaking with Dumont Moore. Dumont is the co-founder of the Veteran Strike Force here in Chicago. We'll be taking questions from our listening audience and our chat room at about the 30-minute mark. I want to remind you that our call-in number is 347-884-8121. Again, that number is 347-884-8121. So, Dumont, in preparation for the show, you know, I looked at a number of websites, and one of them was the Illinois Department of Veteran Affairs. And according to a report they put together back in 2012, they said that there were over 764,000 veterans right here in the state of Illinois. And at that time, they expected to add about 35,000 more by the end of this year. And if that's true, there are approximately 800,000 veterans in this state. Of that number, about 20% of post 9/11 vets suffer from PTSD, and 1 in 3 of Vietnam vets suffer from PTSD. So what are some of the strategies, you guys, that Veterans Force are using to help veterans cope?
Well, in many instances, what we do is we do concentrate and focus on what some of the statistics say. But for the most part, we have to grab them when we can get them. When they come into the VA, we try to steer them in the right direction and tell them that, these are some of the things that you need to be doing. You need to be screened, first of all, and then you need to seek some type of treatment. And then you have to file some claims, because if you can't work, you can't take care of your family. If you can't take care of yourself and your family, depression begins to set in. And if depression sets in, then you begin thinking all kind of weird things. You begin to self-medicate because you're depressed. And a whole lot of other issues follow, So a lot of the strategies that we use word of mouth. And in many instances, what we do is we have strategy meetings. Veteran Strike Force has strategy meetings, and we sit down and we talk about some of the things that we are able to do. And with a lack of funding, Valerie, it's kind of hard to do those things. One of the things that we had attempted to do was to establish Vetsville, and this is a place where veterans could heal. This is a place where veterans could get a holistic round of treatment that would benefit them. They would come into, homeless vets would come into the facility. We would feed them, clothe them, and we would screen them we would give them counsels and tell them where to go so that they could clean up and so that they can get the services that they need. But for the most part, this is still on the drawing board, and we made an attempt to do it. But so many issues came about since then, and with no funding, it makes it kind of difficult to move forward with a lot of these programs that we have established. But they're still on the drawing board, and they're still in black and white. And at any given time, we could implement those programs if it was not for a lack of funding. So, we're on the case. We're a group of vets helping vets. And this has always been our mission, a group of vets helping vets whenever we can. At the Jesse Brown VA Hospital, we're very effective, and the hospital director and staff members, they're very supportive. They're very supportive of us being there because we're able to solve a lot of problems, and we're able to do advocacy work where, the regular advocacy people, like patients' representatives, Veteran Strike Force might talk to maybe 250 veterans within that 4-hour period of time, giving out information. At one time, we gave out. We had enough funding through ourselves to actually have bus cards, so veterans could get back and forth to the different programs that they had signed up for, because many of them were homeless and they were out on the street. They were sleeping on park benches in Grant Park. They were sleeping in alleyways. They were just sleeping in parks. I used to drive down Lakeshore Drive when I got myself together, and I'd see tents pitched in Grant Park. Premier world-class city, and you got your veterans in parks. So I took a lot of pictures, and I brought it to the attention of a lot of people. And some things happen, try to curb some of these issues that veterans are faced with. But for the most part, the bureaucratic machine prevails, and you really don't know who you can go talk to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or I think what I'm hearing is not only is it's difficult to know who, but who you actually can talk to and trust that your issues will be taken care of satisfactorily. Is that what you're saying?
I want to thank you for that explanation. It's very well put.
Okay. All righty. Well, that's great. So I just want to be clear. It sounds to me like you guys are working in partnership with Jesse Brown VA. You know, it sounds to me like Veteran Strike Force is primarily a group of volunteers. They're veterans who realize that, you know, nobody cares for veterans more than veterans. So who else is going to do this work but us? You can't necessarily wait for the government, but at the same time, you have a good partner with Jesse Brown VA Medical Center. And it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in addition to these groups that you facilitate, there are also medical services being offered to help people with PTSD and some behavioral health issues as well. Is that correct?
Well, we don't have, Veteran Strike Force per se does not have any PTSD groups going, although we direct veterans who access the hospital to join a PTSD group or be screened for PTSD. And there are many groups available. Like I said, I've been in a PTSD group for the last 26 years, and I probably will have to continue to go because we're always picking up different tools that we could use when we become depressed. You know, as you know, that's one of our main goals is to try to grab these vets as we can, because statistics show today that 23 veterans every day commit suicide.
Oh my goodness. That's horrible. That's only the ones that we could count. 23. There's probably more. That's another story. You know, because you got some incarcerated, you got some that are completely off the radar because they're homeless, haven't registered anywhere to do anything. So no one's going to call in and say, "Oh, another veteran." It's not 23 anymore. Now it's 25. Nobody's going to up those numbers because it sheds light. It brings the spotlight on the Department of Veterans Affairs as to, well, why is this so high? Why are the numbers so high? Recently, Jesse Brown held a crisis intervention seminar where it was doing, I believe it was doing Suicide Prevention Month. And Jesse Brown signed a pact, you know, and a lot of the clinicians there at the hospital signed the pact that they would do everything that they could to try to bring those numbers down. I believe that they're going to do it, especially with the new director, Mr. Mark McGill. He's on the case, and then along with Marilyn Mohammed, who's the patient advocate department head. I believe a whole lot could be done. But you just have to wait and see. But what are we going to do in the meantime? How are we going to save these vets in the meantime? Can you put out on the air that Jesse Brown VA Hospital actually exists for our inner city vets, and we got Hines out in Maywood that actually exists for veterans all over the county, all over the state? You know, the message has to be put out that the VA is there to help veterans. And if we don't access that hospital, the government will probably shut it down. Well, you know, they already shut down. They shut down Lakeside Hospital down on the Magnificent Mile, turned it over to Northwestern Hospital, and we fought hard for that. But it was either losing Lakeside or losing Jesse Brown in the inner city. So everyone opted to keep Jesse Brown and get rid of Lakeside. And I think we got put in the wash on that deal. I was there, you know. I was there with the Department of Veterans Affairs director. I believe at that time his name was Anthony Principi.
and we were trying to save the hospital. They had several programs going. They had several accounting firms trying to count the numbers, bean counters trying to count the numbers as it related to how many vets would actually use that facility downtown. Unbeknownst to them, we began to have more conflicts in other parts of the world, and all the patients that was at Lakeside came over to Westside. Westside, now known as Jesse Brown VA Hospital. So the bean counters were wrong. You know, we need more. We need more facilities to address some of the issues that veterans are faced with. If we don't get them, the numbers are going to increase. The suicide rate is going to rise, and we'll be in more trouble than we ever have been as it relates to accessing care for veterans. If we really care, we take a close look at that.
Okay, thank you for that. And what I can do, I can at least add to this episode page some links to some veteran resources, including the VA, so that when people listen to this episode in the future, they can see those links and access the links. And then if they know people who could benefit from the service, they can do that. I also have the number to Veteran Strike Force, that's playing on our slideshow. So hopefully people can call in, if they need some help there.
That's only if they have access to the Internet. Now, homeless people don't have access to the Internet. So the majority of homeless vets can't access those services. Our plan, Veteran Strike Force's plan, was to access the trains, buses, airplanes, and those mediums to actually put up posters on those vehicles, so that if a veteran was at a bus stop and he in one of those shelters, he could actually see that, oh, yeah, I suffer from PTSD, and I didn't know I can get help, at the VA hospital for that, and it gives the telephone number, and it gives the address, and also tells you about the regional office where you could go and you could file a claim. Because if you can't work and take care of your family, you become depressed, just like I mentioned before. And income, substance abuse, alcoholism, and a whole lot of other things attached to it, like even divorce and alienation and a whole lot of other things, breaks down the family structure. So these are some of the things that I actually was faced with, I realized that my mom told me she didn't recognize me. She didn't know who I was. It was time for me to go get me some help. When a mama tells their child that, I just don't know who you are, So that's our plan. We want to do a public service announcement. We want it on the trains, the buses, and bus shelters and bus stations. We want it in churches. We want it in supermarkets. We want it in as many places as we can possibly put posters, so veterans that access these places can actually see that the Department of Veterans Affairs does care, and we care, and this is where you can come and get help.
Okay, so have you done any outreach to the organizations that can help you fund that, or even to, say, advertising firms, marketing firms, or firms that do political advertising for politicians, them on board to help them, to get them to donate some services so that you can get the word out? Have you tried any of those strategies?
Well, we got services. We just don't have the necessary funds to go about it in the way that we would like to go about it. Our attempt was to deal with the national ad campaign.
Ad council.
And we didn't quite get that far. The majority of our forward progress has been out of pocket money from veterans who wanted to donate money for those purposes. And out-of-pocket money is kind of hard, especially when you're trying to wait for the Department of Veterans Affairs to grant your claim, and you can't work, or you have to feed a monkey that's been on your back for many years. It's kind of hard to donate money to a worthy cause. So this is where we're about doing it. And what I did was we began to make up posters, and we just put them in the safe until it's time to actually break them out, when we can get funding so that we could distribute them in a fashion that's necessary so veterans will know that help is available.
Yeah, and the press could be your friend, too, in this campaign.
The who?
The press, the media.
Oh, well, I don't know about much of that. Maybe local newspapers might jump on it, But even still, local newspapers, they have a budget as well, and they can only print so much, So, like I said, we got between a rock and a hard place. We ain't got no money, and we got plenty of soldiers, and we got plenty of people willing to volunteer services. As far as distribution, it's just that you got to buy paper. You got to do a lot of legwork, and that even costs money. But the word needs to get out that there is a place where veterans can get help, and this is what our intentions is now.
Okay, great. And I guess going back to the homeless question, I was on that website, Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs, and they indicated that 13% of Illinois veterans are homeless, and on any given day, over 1,100 veterans could be out on the streets overnight. So I know you already talked about Vetsville as, one potential strategy where you're giving not only housing but supportive services, but, that's a long-term project. In the meantime, what are some of the strategies that you can do to help people, who are homeless, with very, very limited funds that you have? What are some of the things you can do?
Not only are veterans having problems accessing shelter, on these cold winter nights, the general public who is homeless also have difficulties accessing shelter on these cold winter nights or on any given night. The main thing is for the general public to know is that the veteran population, by and large, is a very unique and special population group of people. And we don't get along, for the most part, with everybody. We have to be with veterans, with other veterans. That's what Vetsville was all about. It's unique, and we're special in a sense that we're the only population group of people that, as a matter of fact, we are even the largest voting block of people, the veterans group. So, being in that category, Val, what happens is, as proud as we are and we have been, and we will probably continue to be proud of the services that we provided, we're also ashamed that we're homeless. We're also ashamed that we're jobless. You got population of veterans. Veterans could have been known to do. Look, I seen an airstrip where a 747 could land in the middle of the jungle, where where soldiers cleared the runway where a 747 can run or can land in the jungle. So and now when you get back to civilization, they won't even hire you at United or Delta. These are some of the things that are troubling, and veterans don't like to be embarrassed. That leads them down that same road to leads them down a very depressing road toward suicide. it's so complex that it's very hard. And I've been down that road myself. I used to think to myself that I don't think I'll ever make it out of this because I don't have anybody that could help me. While my family was supportive, they couldn't give me everything that I needed. I needed health care. I needed in the line of health care, I needed to be service connected so that I could fend for myself. Veterans don't want handouts. We want a hand up.
Right.
Yeah, we're looking for.
I do.
We're looking for a hand up. If you give us a hand up, we can go the rest of the way by ourselves. So
yes.
That's where we're at. That's where we're at with that. But the time is coming. You got Veterans Day coming, where everybody's going to be out with all the politicians are going to be out with their flags. They're going to be giving speeches, and they're going to be talking about how wonderful our veteran population is, and we need to support them.
Right.
Even your corporations, they'll give you a free meal, they'll give you a cup of coffee, they'll give you a 10% discount. There's so many things that can happen on that particular day. But what happens to me on Monday morning? You go in one of those establishments and ask for a cup of coffee, they'll look at you like you crazy. This can't be a one-day celebration, Veterans Day. This has to be a year-round effort to bring veterans back into the mainstream of society and improve their quality of life. This has to be an everyday effort.
Okay, great. I just want to remind our listening audience that you're listening to Nonprofit U. We're speaking with Dumont Moore, the co-founder of Veteran Strike Force here in Chicago. If you have any questions, please give us a call. We're at 347-884-8121. Again, that number is 347-884-8121. You can also post in the chat room, but remember, if you post in the chat room, you must open a listener-only account. And again, our number is 347-884-8121. So I want to skip around a little bit because we are running short of time. The Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs has indicated that unemployment among veterans, in the general population, is slightly lower than it is for the state as a whole. However, when you start looking at young male veterans between 18 and 24, there's an unemployment rate of 28% compared to 7% for the state back in 2013. And for women, it was 9% versus 7% back in 2013. And then if we were to dissect this even smaller and start looking at black communities, particularly in low-income black communities like the one we're from, North Lawndale, that number could probably be even higher. I would estimate, between 40 and 50% or even more, and then, hearing what you just said, you can get different skills and there's no guarantee that those are going to necessarily translate into something that you'll do in civilian life. And even if it does, there's no guarantee that the corporations will hire you. So what are some of the strategies that Veteran Strike Force is using to help connect veterans with jobs and the skills that they need in order to get and maintain the jobs?
A lot of times what we suggest for veterans who are in distress, veterans who access the VA hospital, the first thing that we suggest to the veteran is to get some help first before you try to reach out to somebody's job. Especially if you're suffering from, if you're a combat veteran or if you're a veteran, period, the military effects on adult human development is astounding. You would not believe all the effects that the military veterans experience unless you actually bring up that part of the literature that tells you how many effects that are associated with post-traumatic stress disorder. Reason why I didn't know what was wrong with me, Val, is because I had heard of shell shock, but I had never heard of post-traumatic stress disorder. I had even heard about battle fatigue, but I had never heard about post-traumatic stress disorder. So again, I didn't even know what I had. That's why I suggest to the many veterans who are still out there, come to the VA hospital, get screened, come to get some help, be registered so that you can be screened so they can determine what exactly do you need. If you need substance abuse counseling, it's available. If you need mental health counseling, that's available. If you have medical needs like diabetes, high blood pressure, all these things could be addressed. You can even get your toenails clipped at the Jesse Brown VA Hospital. It's a place where veterans can come and get help, and you have to access the VA hospital in order to pull yourself together so that you can eventually seek employment. But many times it doesn't work out like that, because once you've been labeled as, when you fill out an application and they ask you about your medical history and they ask you what might be wrong with you, you tell them you have mental health issues, and they call you in for a second interview to make a determination as to whether or not they want to hire you, and you tell them it's PTSD that you've been diagnosed with. Well, you'll get the 10 to 15% preference points that they give you on job applications, but for the most part, somebody else scored higher than you, and more than likely they were a civilian. So I suggest to all veterans, get yourself well first before you go out and try to seek job employment. I had, from Vietnam to today, well, let's say from Vietnam to 1989, when I retired from the Cook County Sheriff's Police Department, I had 37 jobs.
Wow.
And I also maintained my position with the Cook County Sheriff's Office only because I was politically attached. But my behavior suggested that I should have probably been fired a long time ago. But with my political connection, that they called it clout. It kept me there. So I was saved like that. I was able to have a 28-year career with the Sheriff's Department. So that helped quite a bit. But I wasn't getting any help at the time, and my behavior dictated. I even went through APE, Employment Employee Assistance Program, and
EAP. I'm sorry, EAP.
Right, I sought help from those people, but until I went to the Jesse Brown VA Hospital, man, I didn't begin to get better until I actually registered, and I started to participate in different programs with other veterans who were just like me. And I started talking to them. We were sharing information. We were bonding together. They would tell me secrets that they knew about, and I would tell them secrets that they knew about. We wouldn't never fall on the same tripwire, or we would never have to jump over the same hurdle, because somebody was there to say, hey, look, don't go in that direction, go in this direction. Just one thing I have to say, when a veteran does try to get help at the VA hospital, what they should do first is try to get well and have as much patience as they can muster, because it takes a long time when you file a claim to actually get awarded service-connected benefits where you're actually receiving some monetary award where you could take care of yourself. You could pay your mortgage, you could pay your light bill, gas bill, you could buy yourself some groceries. You know, you can buy tokens for yourself so you could ride the bus. But if you don't have any patience, you'll soon become depressed even more so, because you know you've already applied. So what's taken them so long? It took me 18 years, Val. It took me 18 years before I actually became service connected. And just between you and I, and I'm sure that that's probably impossible since we're on the radio wave. But just between you and I feel that I was cheated, because they told me at one point during the claims process that I had abandoned my claim, and I had to start all over again from scratch. That was at the 6-year mark. So I'm about $200,000 in the rear because a mistake, a management, a mistake that they made, and they said that I had abandoned my claim. But guess where I was when they said that I had abandoned my claim? I was at North Chicago VA up in Waukegan. And I sent them a memo saying that I'm concerned about the status of my claim. I'm at the North Chicago VA facility being treated for post-traumatic stress disorder and substance abuse, and I'd just like to know. Well, some kind of way they never got that message, and I've been fighting with them for an earlier effective date on my claim ever since. So that's where I am. You got to have, veteran has to have patience going through this process. And if it is our belief through Strikeforce and myself that if you file a claim, and I'm filing the claim because I need some type of monetary award so that I can become whole again, process that claim right away. Process it within at least a 3 to 5 month, even less, period of time so veteran can move on with his life. And when you start playing letter tag with the Department of Veterans Affairs, that's even more disturbing and distressing. And that's the game that they want to play. So, you know, you didn't cross your I's, you didn't dot your I's and cross your T's. So now you got to send that back with your I's and T's crossed. Now you got to wait 6 months for them to respond back to you to tell you that, well, you missed one I that you didn't dot. Dot this I and send the paperwork back to me, and we'll let you know. Well, when you do that, you know, they'll come up with some more issues, and that's only because of workforce. You know, workforce at the regional office, you know, they've had a bad report card that I know of for the last 25 years. And while they don't take ownership of those mistakes, sometimes and in many instances they blame the veteran for not doing what he or she is supposed to do. So who loses? We lose. Like I said before. Had I not had a support system through my family to help me through these bad times, I probably would have still been out there homeless and helpless and on the verge of committing harikiri. But by the grace of God, that did not happen. I was homeless at one time. I was eating out of garbage cans, man. You know, because, you know, I didn't think nobody cared anything about me anymore. But there are a lot of underlying issues that went along with PTSD as well that triggers PTSD. There's not a night that I can't get a full night's sleep without having flashback or dream about my past experiences. Somebody is always shooting at me or chasing me, or I'm about to get blown up by a grenade, or just a whole lot of issues, you know. So I fight these demons on a nightly, on a daily basis, people talk about nightmares. I have daymares as well. You know, I could be out, you know, and about, you know, trying to run errands or take care of little things that I need to do. And if a helicopter comes over my head, I begin to go try to seek cover. Or if I hear a loud bang, I'm ducking behind a car trying to get out of the way, you know. Things like this that, or even if I see an auto accident or somebody laying in the street, that just it's just overwhelming for me. And there are a lot of more issues that prevail as you talk to other individuals, you know, because everybody got their trigger points. Those are just some of my triggers, and every night I have a different dream about my service to this country in Vietnam.
Wow. You know, thank you so much. Again, thank you for your service and your sacrifice. And we are running out of time, and I'm not going to have time to ask you all the questions that I would love to ask. But I think we're at a point now where I can ask you, you know, if I'm someone who has served in the military, and one, I don't really know where to go to get service, or two, I have just come out and I need service. If I were to go to the Veteran Strike Force, can you tell me, you know, what you're prepared to do there? And I know it depends on what they need, but what is it, you know, we might expect if we were looking for services and we were looking for Veteran Strike Force to help us navigate this system?
Veteran Strike Force will help a veteran with anything that at their disposal that they can help with. But our recommendation to the veteran that's coming out today that needs help, support, and assistance is to go to the local VA hospital and register themselves so they can begin to get treatment if they, in fact, need treatment. That's the best piece of medicine that I can give to a young veteran and to the old veterans. What kept you so long? You know, come to the VA hospital. Come and see what there is to because we got a new team at Jesse Brown that's coming on board. That's doing a lot of good things. It's not the old Westside VA hospital anymore. It's the Jesse Brown VA hospital. And they're doing some pretty good things over there. Just come and register, because many veterans will lose their entitlement to health care and a lot of other things, too, if they don't file a claim or if they don't register. If I believe it's if after discharge, if they don't register within 3 year period of time, they lose those benefits.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just like
terrible.
You're not even a veteran. You got to go through Trump care or something like that. You know what I mean?
Goodness.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
I don't know too many people who want to go through Trump care.
Oh my goodness. So I want to remind Okay, awesome. I want to remind our listening audience that you're listening to Nonprofit You, and we have come to the end of the show. And I want to thank Dumont Moore, the founder of Veteran Strike Force, for being a guest on today's show. I want to thank him again for his service. I want to thank him so much for his transparency, you know, because a lot of people could not tell the story that you told, and they couldn't tell it like you told it. You know, like you said, we have a tendency to want to be strong and hold everything in. So I thank you so much for that. But before we go, is there anything that you'd like to share with us in terms of lessons learned, in terms of how people can get help, you know, how they can keep in touch with you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, Val, and again, I thank you for having me on your show, and the advice that I would give veterans: don't wait too long. And if you don't use the VA hospital, there's nobody sitting in those chairs or accessing those halls or in those clinics. They're going to turn the lights off. and we won't have a Department of Veterans Affairs. We're the only population group of people that's got their own hospital, so that ought to tell you something. That hospital was designed to help veterans. You have to use it. If you don't use it, there's a possibility we might lose it. And it's been a whole lot of talk about sending us somewhere else with a green card to access care from some other entity like Northwestern Hospital or Loyola Hospital or University of Illinois Hospital. You know, it won't be a Department of Veterans Affairs medical center. We'll have to go somewhere else. They'll give you a little card, and you'll have to go there, and you can use your little card. You know, it won't say Department of Veterans Affairs. It won't even say that you're a veteran. You just have a card with a number, and you'll be just like anybody else. So that means you'll lose your own little economy that you've gained all these years and through all these wars. So that would be my advice. And again, Val, thank you for having me. I hope to be on your show again. Maybe we could talk about some other issues that affect veterans, or if you have some concerns, or I can always be available. I would like to invite you to the Jesse Brown VA Hospital so that I could be an ambassador and show you around to exactly what's going on at the VA hospital and the regional office. And then you can put your own twist on it, being an expert that you are, and let the general public know exactly what's happening to veterans. Because we experience these issues on a daily basis and not just on Veterans Day.
Wow. I thank you so much. I'm going to take you up on that. And, you know, every so often, you know, given the number of issues that are out there, you should come on, and if not you, then somebody else who deals with a different specialty. But, you know, I was just overwhelmed, you know, trying to prepare for the show and just looking at the number of issues, the number of services, and all that good stuff. So we definitely need to have you back on and, you know, have you on periodically. So thank you so much for that.
Glad to be of service, Val. Thank you for inviting me on. You have a blessed day.
I shall. And for our listening audience, I want to say thank you again for listening to Nonprofit U Blog Radio Talk Show. This podcast will be available for download within about an hour, and we really, really would like for you to share this in your network. You know, as you can hear, you know, one of the biggest problems that they're having is getting the word out. There are very, very limited budgets for advertising, and the advertising is not coming from the federal government. It's coming from other entities that may offer services to veterans, and they probably have a very, very limited budget. So it's incumbent upon each of us to help as many veterans as we can to get out the word. So, again, this show will be available for download in an hour. We ask that you share it, share a link to it in your networks on social media as well as through your email. You know, if you have a website, we ask that you also include this on your website. So we want to make sure, too, that you join us next week when our guest will be Jesse Terrabaugh. He is the Director of Student and Alumni Affairs for the CARA program, and we'll be talking about some of the issues that impact youth employment and unemployment and the work of the CARA program and some of the outstanding work that people have come through the program have done. So until then, I want you to take care, and I thank you again for listening. All right, bye-bye. All right, you take care, Dumont, and thank you.
Okay, but I'll get back.
When we go out to eat, we never agree on where to go.
I want burgers! Pizza!
Tacos it is.
The one thing we do agree on is we all want unlimited high-speed data. That's why we switched to Metro PCS.
Stop by Metro PCS with the whole family and get 4 lines with unlimited LTE data for just $100, period. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out.
Coverage not available in some areas. Offers require port and of number not currently active on T-Mobile network. During congestion, the fraction of customers using more than 35 gigs per month may notice reduced speeds. Video streams at up to 40p. No tethering. See store for details and terms and conditions.
When we go out to eat, we never agree on where to go.
I want burgers. Pizza.
Tacos it is.
The one thing we do agree on is we all want unlimited high-speed data. That's why we switched to Metro PCS.
Stop by Metro PCS with the whole family and get 4 lines with unlimited LTE data for just $100, period. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out.
Coverage not available in some areas. Offers require port and of number not currently active on T-Mobile network. During congestion, the fraction of customers using more than 35 gigs per month may notice reduced speeds. Video streams at up to 40p. No tethering. See store for details and terms and conditions.